Well, it's pretty much all over the news and everything. It's looking like tomorrow, when Maine delegates all come together and make their choice, it looks like, I think they said so far 392 of them, almost 400 of the, I guess, 600, they're going to choose Troy Jackson. So now Troy Jackson has taken the place of Graham Plattner, who had to leave because, well, his history drove him out. So on Steve Robinson's website this morning, I had to do research because even though I live here in Maine, I've heard of Troy Jackson, but he never was a politician that ever came up on my radar for any reason. I knew that he was kind of he's a Democrat. And in my opinion, just like you Democrats think about Republicans, they're shady characters, well, we on the right think that Democrats, some of them are shady characters. And boy, Troy Jackson, I know, has always had kind of a shady reputation from what I have understood. Now, like I said, I've never followed him. I can't sit here and go on and on because I know all kinds of stuff about him. No, I don't. And that's why I did some research this morning. And here are just, Steve Robinson wrote an article, and he was trying to cover some things that are probably going to be coming out on the national news. You'll see it on CBS, NBC, ABC. Now, how they paint it, I don't know. But he definitely, just like Graham Plattner had a trail of wrongdoings in his past, Troy Jackson's wrongdoings aren't like Graham Plattner's were, which were of a sexual nature, and the Nazi stuff. No, he had Augusta fraud. He bought an Augusta house with an FHA loan requiring primary residency while filing papers claiming Allagash residency to keep his Senate seat presidency. Later sued sellers, filed conflicting insurance claims, flipped the house for profit, and kept living in Augusta while collecting large taxpayer travel reimbursements that he approved himself. Really think about that, right? And Steve Robbins, he's got all the receipts to prove this, to back up what the claims that he's making here. Gun control flip-flop. Now this one's interesting. Long pro-gun record, NRA, SAM high marks, voted against waiting periods and background checks. Yet, after the Lewiston shooting, a Bloomberg-linked gun group hired his son's lobbying firm. Jackson then reversed and backed the exact measures that he had opposed. Need I say anymore? I mean, this is all self-explanatory stuff. A potato shakedown sponsored a multi-million-dollar custom tax credit for Penobscot McCrum when Sue McCrum filed to run against a Jackson ally. Sources say he phoned her husband, implying the credit could vanish if she stayed in. She quit within 24 hours. Now, ain't that something? Yeah. Someone's running against, was it her son? His son? He didn't like it, so he called her up and threatened basically her family's business, and she had to bow out. So he likes to play tough. Bath Iron Works shakedown. Listen to this one. While on a loggers union payroll linked to Bath Iron Works union, co-signed a letter threatening Bath Iron Works $45 million tax break unless it delivered more union jobs and stopped using out-of-state contractors. He used the power of the government to tell that business what to do. and then an Allagash recount. As Senate President living in Augusta, ran for tiny Allagash Select Board. Son allegedly threatened locals with Attorney General investigative scrutiny. Lost 78-70. Conceded, then demanded a recount that barely changed the margin, and he still lost. So, as you can see, without a doubt, it sounds like this Troy Jackson, even though he doesn't have the baggage that Graham Plattner had, he's definitely got baggage. And I do believe that this article I read that took these highlights right here that I just read to you, the guy that wrote it, Steve Robbins, or Robinson, excuse me, he's got a lot more. That's just the tip of the iceberg. There's plenty more. This Troy Jackson's been in his position for quite a long time, and I know that there's a lot more than that. That there's just got to be. There's no way that a Democrat is in power and does those few things right there without other things that are either going to get dug up and found out, or Steve Robbins already knows, but he's just saving that for another article that yours truly here will be reading and paying attention to for sure. Oh, this is just going to get interesting. It really is. But you know, I remember back when Sarah Gideon ran against Sue Collins the last time a midterm election came up. And again, she was another Democrat that basically had the same record. Different scenarios than what Troy has, and different ones than Graham Plattner, but she's a Democrat, and it's always this background of stuff that no politician should ever win an election. Never should be able to have a seat of power, but somehow they finagled themselves to get to where they're at, and that's what it was with this Sue Gideon. And I remember in the media, as we were getting right to like the time we are now, just a few months before the midterm election, and it was Sarah Gideon's going to win. She's going to, she's just going to take it and walk right away, and she's going to be so great and wonderful, and this is it. Sue Collins is finally, and the reason that they were saying all of this stuff was because, just like it is now, the Democrat in the media was being portrayed to have had so many points ahead, or the numbers were looking so good and they were building so wonderfully that by the time November gets here, the Democrat is going to win hands down. And I do remember at one point Sue Collins was following this Gideon. But then when election day came, it was so obvious that the voters of Maine did not want Sarah Gideon in that Sue Collins seat. No way. It was, I'm not going to say a landslide, but Sue Collins had no problem winning. There's no questions about it. Now, I'm not making a prediction that is indeed what's going to happen, but what I am trying to reassure any of you right-wingers out there that's watching, Sue Collins has been there for a long time, and I'll be the first one to tell you right now, there's been many times Sue Collins voted on issues that I got very upset with her. I did. I was like, you're supposed to be a right-winger, and a right-winger should be voting this way on this issue, and you're not. You're going the other way. You're voting with the Democrats. I don't know what you're doing this for, but now I'm upset with you. I think there was even at one point that I was even calling Sue Collins names. I was so upset with her. But at the same time, I remember back when George W. Bush was president. And I don't remember all the details, but all I do know is George W. Bush was pushing legislation, and he got it, and he wanted to dump more money into the military. And one of the... Whoops, hang on. Okay, I got interrupted. I got a phone call from my sister-in-law. I had talked with her, but now back to what I was talking about. George Bush was president at the time, and like I was saying, he wanted to spend a lot of money on the military. And he got what he wanted. And in that process, Sue Collins wound up getting these contracts for Bath Iron Works. And Bath Iron Works made a lot of money. They were building these ships that they build into, these great big boats that the military needs to do their thing on the water. And Bath Iron Works got those contracts to build them boats, and I can't remember how many billions of dollars came into the state of Maine. And all right, yes, there was one time Sue Collins voted on an issue that I didn't agree with, and I was pissed off at her, but I guess you could say she kind of made it up when she got this contract from the government for Bath Iron Works and got billions of dollars brought into the state, and all of them people had all of that work, all of them jobs. I think it was like they were predicting it was going to take them 4 or 5 years to build all of these ships, which means that was guaranteed employment for a lot of people. And probably Bath Iron Works had to hire people, which meant even more jobs, more money being generated here for the state of Maine, in the state of Maine, for the Maine people, for all of us. And it was obviously a plus. So I can sit here and say that Sue Collins has done some things that soured me a little bit towards her, but there's been other times that she's done things just like what I just described to you. So, and I think that's why when elections come around, Sue Collins usually does quite well and keeps the seat that she's in, and that's what I'm hoping and praying that's exactly what happens, because I don't want a Troy Jackson there. I didn't want Graham Plattner. I don't want Troy Jackson. I don't want any other Democrat in them, because if a Democrat gets in there, everything that they vote for, I'm not going to be for. And they won't do anything like Sue did, bringing money into the state. That's my whole point. So if you're watching this video, please vote for Sue Collins. Do not vote for Troy Jackson. Vote for Sue. She'll make Maine better. All right. I'm at the end of the video here. I've gone a little longer than what I wanted to. Between this one and the other video I was doing there, that I gotta edit them together. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. This has been Politically Unfiltered with your host, Arno Betts. I hope you have a great Friday. Today is Friday, July 24th, 2026. Looks like we got good weather ahead. It's going to be good all weekend. Thank goodness. I'm looking forward to the weekend off. You guys have a good one. Take care. Bye.